And a pleasant good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We still have a handful of teams from Beaver County and Western Allegheny County still alive in the WPIL playoffs, and it's championship weekend. It's a tribute to how good football is in this neck of the woods. And the guy to my far right, Mike Warfield, has done a heck of a job in his 4 years as the head coach, and he needs good assistants like assistant head coach Vashawn Patrick, a former star running back. To my left, this guy's a great coach as well. Oh yeah, well, Winchester Thurston's finest, Bruce Fry.
Well, it's
And I don't know
it's
why
all
they invited
Heinz Field. It's all
Heinz
about
Field,
Heinz.
right?
Yeah.
You got it, Heinz Field. That's where we'll be.
I can hardly wait.
I don't know why I'm here, but I'm by Barrickman, so I'll just kind of like chip
Happy
in.
holidays.
Everybody, happy Thanksgiving, happy holidays. And boy, last week, Bruce, before we get to the coaches, interesting games. But the most interesting one, and we're going to talk to coaches Warfield and Patrick, the one that wasn't on the radio, we had Aliquippa in their decisive win over Laurel Highlands 2 weeks ago that you and Mike Azadian called. But last week, though, you had a blowout. Central Valley, I don't know if I expected 51-0, but I knew that he looked pretty good coming in. And the game that I saw, Rochester and Our Lady of the Sacred Heart, very tough loss for the Rams, but Olds moves on the second time to the final for Dan Bradley and his Chargers.
Yeah, certainly a tough loss for Rochester, and it's something they'll have to be aware of and grow from and try to do better the next time. And for Olsh, again, they're back at it, back to Heinz. So that leaves us in 4A. That's our next assignment.
Well, before I forget, I mean, I don't know how many people really know, but historians in Beaver County might know this, especially from Aliquippa and Beaver. If Central Valley was the win on Saturday on Beaver County radio, that would be their 25th consecutive win. And if I'm not mistaken, that would tie Beaver from 1962 and 63 and Aliquippa in 1987 and 88. The great teams led by Sean Gilbert. They had 25-game winning streaks. Central Valley can join that rare crowd if they become champions again on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, no question. Somebody would have to detail that and look it up, but certainly Central Valley ranks up there with the discussion because they're doing it at the state, not to take anything from Beaver, but back in those days there were no state playoffs. So
right.
If Central Valley's in a rarefied atmosphere, if you can do that at the state level, it makes it all the more impressive.
It does. Well, speaking about impressive, Coach Mike Warfield in his 4th year, and Coach, wow, 14 straight years to Heinz Field, or at least to the championship. I know last year, because of the COVID, you had to play at North Allegheny, but 13 years to Heinz Field. We'll talk about that in a moment, but let's recap your game. Double overtime win over McKeesport. Of course, your season ended in double overtime in the championship at North Allegheny against eventual state champion Thomas Jefferson. You beat McKeesport in double overtime. Coach, our game was over. We were off the air, and Jason Colangelo, my broadcast partner, had a little monitor trying to view your game, and it was hard for me to even see that last play. But from what I've heard, and maybe you could add more to it, boy, that kick was close that McKeesport tried in the first overtime, but the official rolled it off, and you got new life.
Right. It was hard from our vantage point to see if it was actually good or not. I really couldn't tell from where I was standing. I don't know about Coach Pat, but since I couldn't tell, I was just looking at the referees and seeing what their signal was, and they said it was no good. So that was a relief, actually.
Coach, I think there's been so much talk about the 2 overtimes played that it took an impressive effort by your team to get to overtime. I mean, you were down, 14-0, I believe,
right,
because you had an interception go against you.
Right,
because,
right.
We're getting these scores and passing them on, and they're saying, oh, quips are down. I said, it's early.
Right,
so
right.
So tell us about that, how you kept
Yeah.
cool in the face of adversity.
Yeah, I think is a big factor was, we went down early on our first drive and we fumbled on the one, and that gave them a little bit momentum from stopping us and getting it back on the 20th. But when we got down 14-0, it's just a matter of our kids is going to follow our coaches. As far as how we respond. So we responded in a positive way, and Coach Patrick and the rest of the staff responded in a positive way. We knew at some point the kids would respond in a positive way. Athletics competition is a game of runs, and we talk about that all the time. We knew they had their run at some point, at some time in the game we was going to get our run. Unfortunately, we did at the right time.
But Sean, you've been in some of these great games a couple decades ago, and you've stayed with the program as an assistant coach. After the field goal was no good by McKeesport, did you sense that maybe that made your players relaxed or felt more at ease because it's so close, because McKeesport gets the ball, you stop them, and then you get the touchdown to win? Did the players, do you think maybe because they didn't know what was going to happen, and then that kick was ruled no good, that maybe that might, in a sense, maybe settled your club down, so to speak?
Yeah, so when the kids came to the sideline, we just told them to take a deep breath, and we had another shot, for us to score.
Yeah, that's certainly. It also, I was listening on the radio. It seemed like there were some big pauses in between there too. It seemed like after that missed field goal that the band could have played. I mean, there was so much time in there. So in coaching, again, overtime. It's funny because high school, I guess, is a little different than the NFL. But the bottom line is, when you win the toss in overtime, like you did, you can pick offense or defense.
Right.
You picked offense.
Right. And that's a great question, because analytics say, we should go on defense first, just to see if they're able to score or they're going to kick a field goal. It actually basically sort of dictates to us what we have to do, what we have to accomplish if we go on defense first. We went on defense first and against Central Valley 2 years ago, against Thomas Jefferson last year. But I was going to go on defense again because I think that's the right thing to do, per se, analytics. But while we were waiting on the way out to the coin toss, Jason McBride, one of the captains and one of the leaders of the team, said, "Coach, we want to go on offense first." So I gave him that opportunity. I mean, they played well. I trusted them, and I trusted what he wanted to do. So I took that into account, and I made that decision that we were going to go on offense first. Now, the next question is, will I do it again?
Well, you asked it. We didn't have to.
Yeah, but that's a legitimate question. Will I do it again? I highly doubt it. But at that particular point in time, I trusted the players wanted to do.
Well, 2 years ago, you go to single overtime against Central Valley. Tough loss. Last year, double overtime loss.
Right.
This time, you get the double overtime win.
Right.
So you've had experience, Coach.
Right.
And who knows what will happen on Saturday? We'll talk about your opponent and Bell Vernon in a few minutes, but at least now you're probably more conditioned because I think at least I'd like to believe that this game's going to go down the wire, and you might be faced with a similar decision come late in the game on Saturday.
Right. It was ironic because Thursday night or Thursday at our practice, offensive coordinator Shelton Colbert, we do situational football at times, and that was one of the situations where if we win in overtime. So we was fresh in our mind from the night before relative to what we wanted to accomplish and the things we had to do. So I think we was prepared for it. But McKeesport was a good team. They're a good, solid team, good athletes, good up front. They got numbers. So we knew they would be tough, that it would take, a full team effort to accomplish what we needed to do.
Well, you mentioned having worked on that Thursday night, but when you get to overtime, do you try to just go with bread and butter plays that have worked for you all the time, or do you try to throw out some new wrinkles, like perhaps the one that won the game for you? Was that something that you don't do often?
I'm going to explain that to you in 1 second, but it's basically like Coach Colbert said the night before. We just need a first down. It's 1st and 10, and we need a first down.
Yeah.
So don't get into the whole persona that, this is overtime, we got to do this and do that. It's basically, we need a first down. And I think the kids were prepared for that. But far as the game went to play, Coach Colbert calls the offensive plays. I trust him. But I think it was like 2 plays before then, or the series before, I had saw that the tight end was open. Then I didn't say anything about it, but then Coach Pat, like on first down, said, hey, that Coach Patrick said that the tight end is wide open. So it was second down. We knew all we needed to do was win, get a field goal to win. I'm confident our kicker could definitely kick basically an extra point. So when Coach Patrick said, I said, okay, we'll try it on second down. If we miss it, we still got third down and even fourth down to regroup if we had to. But Coach Patrick actually made that call, and we went with it, and it turned out good for us.
Mike or Vashon, either one of you or both of you can handle it since we're on the subject of overtime. The NFL overtime, I'm sure people, they watch games on TV. If it goes to overtime, the team that gets the ball first, if they get a touchdown, game's over. If they get a field goal, the other team gets a chance. In college football, you start at the 25. And we saw a 9 overtime game. It was kind of silly between Illinois and Penn State. I kind of like the high school rule just because at the 10-yard line, unless you're a really good kicker, and how many really good kickers are there at the high school level? Not slighting the young man from McKeesport, but it's a challenge. No matter if you get stopped at the 9 or the 6, it's still not a given. In college football, though, almost any major team is going to have somebody who can kick a 40-some yard field goal. How do you guys feel about overtime at the 3 levels? Vashon?
I mean, like you said, I actually do like it at the high school level because it's only 10 yards, like Coach Mike said. You're just trying to get a first down. And, like, we practice situational things. We practice our kicker kicking from the 10, from the 15 to the 25 and to the 40, within this distance. And our kids scream and yell and put the pressure on them. If he makes it, we in practice. We not, we got to go back down and do another 2-minute drill. And I think that prepared him when he was ready, if he was up, ready for his kick.
You're actually nice. I've heard of schools where missed field goals result in running to the line. So you're benevolent. But no, that's good. But still, the bottom line is, even if you hiked it on first down, that's a glorified extra point. It's only 7 yards more than it. Right. In Pele, I got faith in the young man. He's great.
Right. And to go back to your previous question relative to you go on defense first or offense first, I mean, analytics say we should go on defense first, but that also put the pressure on the offense as well, to make sure they try to score, because knowing if they do miss a field goal, just a field goal, you lose the game. So I think it's a combination of both.
Yeah, McKeesport certainly played hard, no doubt
about it.
To stop your team,
Absolutely.
That was critical. Just stopping your first possession of overtime.
Right. They came up with some big plays throughout the game. Like I said, I mean, we had turnovers, but defenses, the opponents caused the turnover. So we had a miss. We had 2 interceptions, one for a pick 6. We had a fumble on a 1, and then we also had a drop pass, and then we also had another pass that could have scored, but the number 3 made a great play coming off of his man and knocking it down. So they played those was 4 or 5 different scores that it was because of them.
Mike Warfield, head coach. Vashon Patrick, assistant head coach at Aliquippa. We're going to take our first break in a couple minutes, but speaking of kicking, first of all, because we have the broadcast on Saturday, I want to know the official pronunciation of your kicker's name and who gets credit for first naming him Pele.
Somebody who's sympathetic to us trying to say it. That's all I've ever said in my life.
Ooh.
I can't pronounce his name, but
Emmanuel is his first name.
Yeah, but I start calling him Pele.
So I'm
at
forgiven
practice.
if I mess it.
That's hard.
Okay. Gaiudu Manley. Is Manti. Does that sound? Is that close
Yeah,
enough?
that sounds very
The
close.
most important
It's going to
thing-
be Pele after the first time.
Right.
Plus, the most important thing is he wears Mike Ditka's number. He wears 89. That's the
I
best
didn't
part
think
about
that,
it.
yeah.
Now the goalposts are more narrow at Hinesfield, correct, versus high school. Does that play into your mind of thinking in case it does come down to maybe a kick to win a game?
It does, absolutely. I remember our first game against the first overtime game against Central Valley is that we missed the extra point at the beginning, and then we tried a field goal later on in that game, And I think that was a little bit of discussion when we was going for 2 instead of trying to kick an extra point and tie it up. But we didn't want to put that unnecessary pressure on him when we think for sure we should be able to get 3 yards. Yeah, that does factor in. In the wind, it's open more, so the lighting and the turf, so all that comes into play, and it's based on how he's kicking during pregame and things like that.
We're going to take our first time out. We want to thank Curtis Walsh and Malik Garrett, and of course the fine folks from Pizza Joe's. I know you're going to be eating a lot of turkey tomorrow, but hey, coaches, you're welcome to Pizza Joe's tonight. They're on 3rd Street in Beaver. They've been taking care of us all season long. And why don't you make a visit to Pizza Joe's on 3rd Street in Beaver. And we want to wish all of you a happy holiday tomorrow and through the weekend and during the Christmas holidays. Make it special. It'll really be special if we get a lot of champions from the area. We're going to take this time out. We'll be back on WBVP, WNBA 99.3 FM, Facebook Live. We do it every Wednesday at 7:05. We'll be right back.
Community College of Beaver County is more than a place to build a career, it's a place to belong. With extra financial grants and less fees, programs that get you to graduation or on the job fast, flexible courses that come straight to you, and full support along the way, CCBC offers real learning for real life. Don't just attend college, experience it. Visit ccbc.edu to browse classes and get started, or call 724-480-3504 to connect with CCBC. You belong here. Did you know that the Grand Valley Inn was voted #1 best overall restaurant in the Best of the Valley Readers' Choice Awards 4 years in a row? Grand Valley Inn also has a fun family trivia night Thursday evenings at 6:30 p.m. Call 724-843-9000 and reserve a spot for your team and win some great prizes. Again, that's 724-843-9000. Grand Valley Inn, good food, good friends, and good entertainment.
Are you in high school and thinking about your future, or know someone who is? Consider Geneva College. Geneva is a Christian college that prepares students for meaningful service and their life's work. Geneva has over 145 majors and programs, 18 varsity sports, 100 study abroad programs, and lots of club activities. And Beaver County scholarships help to make a Geneva education affordable. Learn more by visiting geneva.edu. That's geneva.edu.
They say imitation is the most sincere form of flattery. If that's true, then people must really be impressed with me. This is the Aquaman of Beaver County, Jim Riggio from the Beaver Falls Municipal Authority. You see, at this time of year, lots of people try to look just like me and put on their superhero outfits as costumes. The only difference is, at the Beaver Falls Municipal Authority, we act like superheroes all year round with service that would make any Cape Crusader proud. This is the Aquaman from Beaver Falls Municipal Authority, Jim Riggio, wishing you a festive and safe Halloween. Click bfwater.net.
If you're looking to rid yourself of that unsightly, unwanted junk vehicle sitting on your property, call the experts at Plasmeyer Towing. They'll pay you in cash and will often pick up that vehicle the same day. Plasmeyer Towing, a full-service towing company in Elwood City, offers safe and reliable towing services for your vehicle in the local area, plus a selection of salvage vehicles for your car part needs. Plasmeyer Towing will pay you in cash for your junk, wrecked, or unwanted vehicle no matter the condition. Call 724-561-3300. Good luck to the Riverside Panthers on a great season.
And we return to the coach's corner. Head coach Mike Warfield, Vashawn Patrick, assistant head coach. Aliquippa is headed to the championship game for the 14th year in a row. Mike Schmianik led the program to 10 of those trips, and now Mike Warfield has done it 4 years in a row. Mike and Mike, wasn't that an ESPN morning show?
It certainly
It's
was.
still Mike and Mike, and they're still at it. And
Amen.
And Mike Warfield took the baton, and Vashawn, I think you've been a part of all 14 of those teams, right?
Yes, actually, that was my since the run started. That was my first year coaching. Now I'm still involved.
Wow,
That's
boy,
great.
what
I
a
didn't know that.
run! And the mind-boggling thing is not only, I mean, just the fact that it's 14 years in a row is just something ridiculous. But to do it when you've been at least one class lower than your enrollment would say. I mean, you've always been a 1A school in that stretch of time. And now the last couple of years, you're playing in 4A, and a lot's been made about this. Why do they have to play that high up? And there's a competition formula, and it's all complicated, and trying to explain it, I couldn't even begin to really explain all the nuances of it. But it's incredible what you've been able to do 14 years in a row against schools obviously bigger than you, and in some cases much bigger.
Absolutely. I mean, Rashawn's been here since it started. I was in and out coaching at Aliquippa under Coach Z. The last 4 years, it's been incredible. Being 3A 2 years, then 4A this is the second 4A year. But it's a testament to the kids. I don't know the competition rules, the ins and outs of it, but I hope no one takes away from the accomplishments of the kids. I mean, this is something that the kids work hard to achieve. They've been wanting to do it since they're young, and no matter what they consider or factor into the rule, it shouldn't take away from what the kids' accomplishments.
They certainly have. You guys have played at Heinz Field more than anybody except the Bengals, Browns, and the Ravens, who come here. It's unbelievable since the place opened, because you were there years before your streak started too.
Right.
So you've probably been to Heinz Field probably 17 of the 21 years it's been open.
Yeah.
So that's an impressive feat within itself. But specifically, because obviously it's going to come up, if you can just cue our viewers in on, first of all, just a quick look at your semifinal a year ago with Bell Vernon, and what Aliquippa fans might expect from the Leopards on Saturday.
Last year, they was just as well as dynamic as this year. I mean, they stout up front. They got great skilled guys, and they defense, they play hard. I mean, with the school with those type of numbers, they can sub patterns are good, and great coaching staff. I mean, the same thing with this year. I mean, you got a great player in Devin Woodlock and Quentin Martin, and they up front guys, they play hard. They play hard to the whistle, and they get after it. I mean, I love the way they play and their coaching style. So it's going to definitely be a great test for us.
When you look at Bell Vernon, of course, you haven't played them this year, but you've seen them on film. You have played Central Valley, your only loss of the year. By looking at this team, would it be fair to argue that this might be your toughest assignment this year, even with the presence of Central Valley? Could you make that statement and be and I know you get an argument from the Warriors on that, but would it be a fair statement to compare Bell Vernon with Central Valley from what we've seen this year?
I'm not going to compare them because they two different teams, two different styles. But they both are great teams, and we still have to play the game on Saturday. So we already got CV out the way. Like you said, they did put a blemish on our record, so they are a great team. But I'm not going to compare them because they both are great teams.
Well, now I'm afraid to ask my next question because that was a comparison. I was going to ask you to compare Devin Whitlock, who's obviously a multi-talented quarterback, with Rodney Gallagher, who you met from Laurel Highlands. Would you say that they seem to be, from basketball, it seems like they're about the same size?
I think number one from Bell Vernon is more stout. He might be a little shorter, but he's more broader. Gallagher is definitely a dynamic player. I was impressed with his quickness and athleticism. Not taking away from anything from Laurel Highlands' rest of the team. I think Devin has a little bit more around him that helps him, especially when you have 25 sitting next to you, where you just can't key on him. Like Coach Pat said, it's definitely two different teams. Laurel Highlands was good, but this team is dynamic in many different ways. I mean, up front, it's impressive to see some of the things they're doing up front. And then you put 1 and 25, 17, 15 is a great player. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be a challenge.
Quentin Martin, now he was a freshman last year, and I'm sure he did some good things, but it seems like he's 6'3", 195. I mean, that's just very impressive for a running back. I mean, as good as Devin Whitlock is, I'd have to believe that Quentin Martin's upside is probably more just because of the size factor. But, I mean, this young man, he makes Devin Whitlock that much more explosive because, like you said, Coach, you can't key on one of them.
Right.
And they're definitely Batman and Robin, or Batman and Superman. They work well together. I mean, and you can tell they put in the time and the efforts throughout this summer to get better and get stronger and get faster. So, like I said, the game will be played on Saturday.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. But just again, looking back to Gallagher real briefly, he in that game at Ambridge, he got a little bit anxious. You could see his body language, because in the first half alone, Aliquippa tackled him from behind in his own backfield 4 times. You know, that's the thing with Whitlock, as he faced speed of your caliber. You know, we like to talk to Vashon in their dual meet in track. They had 9 guys in a dual meet break 12 seconds for the 100. Aliquippa did. Some, you know, in a normal school, if you got 2 or 3 or 4, you're considered fortunate. So your speed, I would think, would help you against Whitlock.
Well, Coach, let's flip the scale. Bell Vernon is looking at your club, and they're saying, look at that line, look at that skill that they have. I know that this is a team effort, but a guy who's been really catching people by storm, the freshman in Tyquay Hayes. And you kind of eased him into the lineup early in the season. Did you expect him, he's a freshman, did you expect him to be this good this early in his career?
Vashon, Coach Pat is our running backs coach, and you know, I said this to someone the other day, is that, you know, you always hear about the kids coming up through the Little Quicks program who are, you know, standing out among others, and he was one of the names. But one thing that I saw, it was probably like a year ago, I saw Coach Pat in the weight room with Tyke, who we call is Tyquay, and Ayers Walker. Those both freshmen that, you know, I was so impressed with it, and I don't think Coach Pat knew at the time. I took pictures of them working out, because this is 2 8th graders going to be 9th graders here working out with Coach Pat because they want to be great. So I let Coach Pat talk about Tyke more, because he spends tons of time with him getting him ready.
Yeah, I knew in time he would be great. I mean, with a couple of injuries, he had to move into the role a little bit faster than what we expected, but he stepped up, and he definitely put the time in to be great. I mean, from his mental preparation is the most important part. He gonna always have the physical attributes, but his mental preparation put him heads over heels, ready to play high school football.
And speaking of a middle, we've been talking, and a lot of people have been talking what he's been doing on the field, but the kid has a 4.0. Sometimes I visit the school, far as and go the other, maybe like a month or so ago, and I went around all the kids and asked them for their pirate school, which shows all their grades, and he pulled his up and they're all A's. So that's just as impressive, or not more impressive than what he's doing, you know, on the football field.
You know, and maybe that illustrates my next point I'm going to make, because obviously he gets it done in the classroom to an extreme level. It's easy when you got people from Aliquippa, especially the historians, who'll bring up the names from the past, Chico Williams, Pudgy Abercrombie. How does this young man handle this kind of success? Is he pretty well grounded? I would think the way he is disciplined in the classroom would suggest that, hey, he just wants to get better every game, and he doesn't get carried away or full of himself.
And that's the thing, he does. He just want to get better every day. He more focused on his teammates getting better than himself getting better. I mean, he's just a great teammate. He works hard day in and day out. I mean, he compliments even the young guys that's in the same grade to just try to bring them along to make sure they're taking the right steps to be better too.
Can we look for him on the track this spring?
Oh, you definitely see him on the track this spring.
I mean, you're always trying to win the 4x1. Why? He looked good to me. He looked like he's an early favorite to be in your top 4, you know. I don't know what leg you put him on, but he seems like he's going to be there.
Right. And in addition to that, I also think, you know, a combination of, you know, the number of backs we have. They compete amongst one another, and I think they push each other, which is making them all better. You know, we got Quaylen Darby, who had an injury that slowed him down early. Of course, you got Tyke, and then you got John Tracy, who I think is definitely, 3 quality backs that probably would be the lone back anywhere else. So I think it's a good competitive spirit, competitive atmosphere where they're actually pushing one another.
I thought Tracy had a very solid performance in the game at Ambridge against Laurel Highlands. Hayes was out for a while, and they put Tracy in, and
Right.
he just continued to hit the hole, basically.
Right.
Syer Clark, he's been a game changer for a few years for your team. Quentin Good, first-year starter. Boy, does he bring a lot to the table. Have you been surprised by how well he has matured into the starting quarterback? And he's only a sophomore? I mean, that's incredible. Did you think it was going to take time, or did you think, hey, this kid's the real deal, and he's going to show his stuff?
I mean, being a quarterback myself in the past and being a quarterback coach for years, and also we have Maurice Carey there, who's our quarterback coach, who does a tremendous job with him. I knew he had signs of it, but being in 9th grade, sometimes you're a little bit immature. You're not focused because you're not thinking in your mind that you're going to have to prepare because you might or might not get to play any given Friday. But we had a kid who left who was penciled in as a starter. So we had to go right away and put Cheese in. That's what we call Quentin, is Cheese. And from that day, I told him, you're the guy, and we're going to run with you. And from that day then, he has impressed me tremendously. I've been around a lot of quarterbacks, coached a lot of quarterbacks. If you take away his stature, his height, and put him in a 6'2" or 6'3", he's every Power 5 school, in my opinion. But he is going to get bigger. His feet he wears a size 13, and his hands are big as mine, and his dad is tall. So I expect him to grow, but just the mental aspect of the game is impressive. I mean, the things that our Coach Colbert have him doing at this point, we haven't done, even when Eli was done. As far as the play calling, a lot of decisions we putting on his shoulder to make, it's impressive.
Your offensive line, defensive line. I know some opposing coaches probably get tired of hearing, "Oh, Aliquip is so small," and they're playing 3 classes up. They're saying, how does this school get 290-pound, 300-pound linemen? You don't have a lot of kids in the school, but how do you? And not only are they big, but they're fast and they're good. And I know coaching goes a lot into it, but what are you doing? Is the food at Aliquippa that good? Or is the training room that good? But tell us.
Well, actually, Coach Mike put the big guys on a diet at the beginning of January. I mean, but those guys have worked for everything they have got. I mean, in the weight room, in the classroom. I mean, a couple of them, Naquan, he done lost about 20 pounds. Jason lost 25. Tyrese lost 15. Just running off numbers at the top of my head. Nico, he put more solid muscle on. Omar got a little bit bigger, a little bit faster. So these guys have definitely worked, to get stronger, get faster, and just put the bulk on to get prepared for that next level. I mean, we got Coach Bob, who's the offensive line coach now. He works tremendously with them, and Coach Jalil Fields, defensive line, and working on their hand movements, and they, like you said, the competition level day in and day out at practice is for them to get better, and they pushes each other.
Yeah, and you can certainly see that. We saw it against Laurel Highlands, is with those guys lined up, when they just hold their gaps, even if you're Rodney Gallagher, there's nowhere to go. Like, what would Kyler Murray have done that night for Ambridge? I mean, there's just nowhere to go. And then once they hold their part in the line and you have guys tackling from behind, it becomes a problem for the opposing offense.
In addition to that, I think it's also, game planning. We have a defensive coordinator who's been there 40 years, so he basically seen everything that, teams could throw. Coach Pat and Coach Short always put together a great game plan, and the kids are at this point, doing their assignments and taking care of their responsibilities.
Sugar Bowl 1981.
Yeah.
Dan Marino to John Brown, while Peep Short was a starting strong safety for the Panthers.
Yeah.
Not only that, how many other people can say they played for the Pittsburgh Maulers?
Yeah.
We can.
Very good. They're supposed to come back again.
Oh,
Yeah, I
let
did see that in
Pete
the
down
paper.
there.
Yeah,
Let Pete be the defensive coordinator. If
Right,
it's in
right.
the spring, you got time.
We're going to take our next time out. When we come back, maybe we'll talk to the coaches a little bit about the itinerary between now and Saturday. I know they have to fit in the turkey and the stuffing and the mashed potatoes. I'm getting hungry already. But how do they fit that in to their game plan against a very good Bell Vernon club? We'll talk to them about that after this break. Thanks again to Pizza Joe's on 3rd Street in Beaver, providing the refreshments all year long. We'll continue on Beaver County Radio and Facebook Live.
When you want your car to function, call Junction. That's what more and more people in Beaver County are doing every day. Junction Auto Service is a full-service repair business, and there's no better time to have your car checked than now before the really cold weather arrives. Heating and cooling systems, batteries, fluids, tires, and everything it takes to keep your vehicle running. Steve and his winning team will take care of it. Call for an appointment today or visit them at 425 Constitution Boulevard in Falston.
When you're looking for the Valley's best eye care, look to Gazzetti Optometric Services, 212 State Avenue in Beaver. Dr. John Gazzetti has over 40 years of patient care experience, including exams, contact lens fittings, cataract, glaucoma and dry eye management, laser vision correction, and sports and sun eyewear. For your best vision, make the best decision. Call Gazzetti Optometric Services at 724-774-7559.
McGee Heating and Air Conditioning in Aliquippa has been in business for nearly 60 years. Now that's experience you can count on. When you call McGee Heating and Air Conditioning at 724-375-7112, they'll answer your call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Sue Curlin and her winning team service most brands, and McGee Heating and Air Conditioning is locally owned and operated. As always, they wish their best to our local teams. McGee Heating and Air Conditioning, Main Street, Aliquippa.
Did you know that Aliquippa won its first state championship over 70 years ago? Hi, this is E-Man from Huffman's Drugstore. It was 1949, and the Quips defeated York for the state Class A basketball championship at the Philadelphia Convention Center. At that point in time, Huffman's Drugstore was already a fixture in town, having opened nearly 3 decades earlier. Our tenacity and drive has enabled us to win over customers for 100 years now. Visit Hoffman's Drugstore on Franklin Avenue, 724-375-4111.
Ambridge Italian Villa, a family tradition with the taste sensation.
The 3 most important things to consider if you are planning a holiday get-together this year are food, food, and food. Great food makes the gathering memorable, and whether you are hosting the family dinner or have a giant corporate function to prepare for, get it vilified with catering from Ambridge Italian Villa. Spend your time under the mistletoe or in front of the fireplace with loved ones this year instead of in the kitchen. Vilifying your dinner party of any size with catering or pick up food from Ambridge Italian Villa is safer and better than going out to eat, and way more fun. Vilify your company party, group dinner, church celebration, or any event with catering from the Villa. Ambridge Italian Villa. Click AmbridgeItalianVilla.com or visit Ambridge Italian Villa on Duss Avenue in Ambridge.
Ambridge Italian Villa, a family tradition with the taste sensation.
And we continue our journey, or highway to Hines, as Dawn Rebel from Trib Live would put it, and it all begins on Friday. We want to wish Our Lady of the Sacred Heart the very best. They play Bishop Canavan. That'll be a 2 o'clock start. We'll have the Beaver Falls Sarah Catholic game. Beaver Falls 0-3. One of their losses was to these guys, second week of the season, and here they are, 9 wins in a row. They're in the championship game. Bruce and myself will be on the air at 4:30.
And Bob, for as many things that I say on the air that wind up not having a shred of truth to them, the one thing I did hit in the game up here, it was Aliquippa 39, Beaver Falls 25. And I said right then on the radio in September, I can't see Aliquippa giving up 25 points again in a game.
And
it hasn't happened.
It hasn't happened yet. Okay.
So
All right.
I got one right at least so far.
Well, good.
For a
Well,
whole season, that's not bad.
You wouldn't have brought it up if they
You're
had given up more than 25.
I could have said I like Shenango plus 35 against Olson, and then they beat them outright. So I've made my share of mistakes.
Then Saturday, Bruce and me will see if Central Valley can make it 25 in a row. We'll be on the air at 11:30 a.m. as the Warriors will take on North Catholic, the number 2 seed, and then at 3 o'clock, trying to get my times right.
Right.
Aliquippa and Bell Vernon, they'll do battle, and then, boy, Moon, we wished him the very best. Moon and Penn Trafford, what a year, undefeated. Ryan Lynn and the Moon Tigers, what a story that is. 5 teams from right in this neck of the woods in the championship game. Vashon, we would be remiss if we didn't mention this one young man, because if he was able to put a uniform on every Friday night, your team would be that much better. And we're talking about, I know he's commonly known, affectionately known as Sonny, Antonio Anderson, and a tragic situation that occurred in the spring that kept him from playing football for you this year. Give us an update on how he's doing and how much he still was a part of this team, even though he may not be wearing the red and black on Saturday afternoon.
Oh, so he still have on his red and black because everything the kids get, Sonny get. He's just as part of this team as he was if he was, actually playing. I mean, but Sonny, he's been working very hard on his rehab, getting back. Now he's starting to walk on his own. He's driving. I mean, just. I tear up just thinking about, what happened to the kid. He's a great kid. I mean, he's in good spirits. He's just continuing to work hard.
It's got to be a jolt. Not only is it a jolt to have that happen, but to have that happen when it happened, which was between the WPIL and state track meets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was actually one, an alternate on our 4x1 team. Mm-hmm. I mean, he was with us all season. Just to hear the news, we was actually after a spring football practice, and I heard the news that night and that early morning, I was distraught.
Is it not a stretch to say that he might play football again at some level?
That's his goal.
Okay.
And he's striving to reach that goal. So we're going to support him any way we can to help him reach that goal. But I actually talked to Sonny today. Just to give him a call and make sure he was going to be there on Saturday. And he answered the phone in great spirits. So, his spirits are high, which is a blessing. I had the opportunity to sort of reach out to Ryan Shazier's foundation. Oh, wow. And, we was fortunate that Ryan Shazier called him, had a Zoom call meeting for like an hour with him while he was in the hospital. But all the support he's gotten, from all around the community, all around Western Pennsylvania. I want to thank everybody because that's greatly appreciative. Even like our opponents in the Parkway Conference. I know Black Hawk did a fundraiser, Coach Zach. Beaver did a fundraiser. Central Valley, we did a T-shirt fundraiser for our game. And Char Valley did a fundraiser for him. Wow. So the outpouring of love and support that he's received is priceless.
Well, at this time of the year, Thanksgiving, and I think we should thank all the people, all the schools who gave such support in helping Antonio Anderson along in his rehab, and that's just a touching story. And we hope that Antonio eats a whole heck of a lot of turkey tomorrow, but he certainly is an inspiration. Let's talk about the routine, your itinerary for Thanksgiving. I guess the kids don't get a day off tomorrow, right, Coach?
No, I mean, we can't. I mean, preparation is important, so there is no day off.
It's Thursday.
Right.
It's not Thanksgiving. It's Thursday. Doesn't everybody? What's all the fuss? It's Thursday.
I mean, I think the kids are used to it. I mean, if you're practicing or had the ability or you're lucky enough to be practicing on Thanksgiving, you're blessed. So the kids are happy about it, thrilled about it. So we are going to practice tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, no question about it, because you can rest assured Coach Matt Humbert and the Bell Vernon Leopards will be practicing.
I bet. I'm sure. I'm sure of that.
You can rest assured.
Speaking of Coach Matt Humbert, okay, we've talked a little bit. You've given your views on what you have to do. Now, maybe you haven't given your views yet. We've all made it clear how good Devin Whitlock is, the quarterback, how good Quentin Martin is, the sophomore running back. I'm sure you have an agenda on how. I know the cliche is we're not going to stop them, but we want to contain them. Would that be your goal going in, to make sure that they're not going to take over this game on Saturday?
I don't think there's no secret to it. I mean, you've seen what he's done the whole year, him 1 and 25. But, I'm impressed with Bell Vernon. The coaching staff, like Coach Pat said earlier, I know they had some key injuries throughout the year, but they're still in it. So that just goes to show you how, prepared both mentally and physically that Matt has with his team. So, like I said, it's going to be a challenge. I mean, containing him, no one has yet. It's going to come down to blocking and tackling.
If Coach Humbert was here right now, what do you think he would say if we said, Coach, what's your big concern or concerns about Aliquippa?
That's something you would have to ask him. I mean, I'm not sure what he would say. I mean, maybe it's a different philosophy. I don't know. You would have to ask him.
Mike, when you see Martin on film, does it seem like Whitlock throws it short to him and tries to have him run with yards after the catch, or are they throwing bombs to him also?
I mean, the kid, they do it all. The kid is 6'3", 200 at least. And, he's an athlete. You can't teach size.
Right.
And especially with size with athleticism. So he's dynamic. Even a play that sticks in my mind from last year, I think we were going into halftime, we were still trying to score, and we ran like a little corner route or tried to run a little corner route. He's covered so much ground at safety. So you have to account for him. And I thought the play was open, but, he's long and rangy, like the next level type players are. And he made the play, the interception. He was hurt against us last year. I think he got hurt early in the game, so he wasn't quite 100%. So it's going to be a challenge.
He certainly appears to be a candidate for a fade pattern in the end zone if you're in close.
Yeah.
You look at Whitlock and what he's done. The last player who kept Aliquippa or was very instrumental in keeping Aliquippa from Heinz Field was a young man named Terrell Pryor from Jeanette. Much taller, but Sean, would you were a running back, and I look at Pryor as a runner. He was Mr. Everything. Mm-hmm. Would you look at Whitlock in a smaller package per se, has some of the same attributes as Terrell Pryor?
Can't say the same attributes, but they both dynamic players. Terrell Pryor, like Coach Mike said, size and speed alone is he's one of the best players I ever seen come out of play football.
Absolutely.
Play football, not just Western Pennsylvania. Devin Whitlock is just as dynamic. He doesn't have the size, but he makes you miss. He got the speed. He's strong, and he's a very heady player. He knows when to take hits, when not to take hits.
He reminds me of the kid from Beaver.
Wise.
Yeah, Darius
Wise.
Wise.
Darius Wise. Oh, yeah. That's a nice comparison. And boy, it's been 5 years since Darius. What a career he had. That's a good point. You have another opportunity. This school has had so many great teams, great players. You have Mike Ditka, Ty Law a couple years ago, and I know that you shared that moment with Ty Law when he got into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And maybe in a couple years from now, Darrell Rivas will be joining them. And if you go by zip code, Tony Dorsett played in the same zip code. The school colors were a little different at Hopewell, but he was a stone's throw, maybe even less than that, from Aliquippa. So, what a tradition. But these young men, though, it seems like Mike Tomlin would say, the next man up. You don't have Ty Law forever. You don't have Darrell Rivas forever. But the guys who are playing now, the championships continue. the appearances at Heinz Field continues. Guys, you must feel proud that you're a big part of all of that with your outstanding team.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, I give all the credit to, really since I've been there, our coaching staff. I mean, as far as the assistant coaches and Coach Pat being the assistant head coaches, that no matter who the coach was or who the coach is now, who is me, or who the coach will be in the future, is that our coaching staff have been consistently the same for those 14 years. A lot of the credit has to go to those guys, and Coach Pat is
Do you
definitely
think
one
it's
of
a secret that, 80% of them are Aliquippa grads, or maybe more?
Right.
Do you think that's more? That's more than a coincidence, I would think.
Right. It's a thing where we're lucky on both ends of it, that we have the kids, and then we have guys like Coach Pat who's willing to go to college, get his degree and come back and want to give back. I think that's a lot of why we do it there. It's not about the pay, of course, but it's just giving back to something that's given us so much, giving us opportunities outside of just athletics. It's just you want to give back to those kids that really look just like you, or grew up just like you, probably act just like we acted back then. So it's a good feeling to be able to give back. That's given us so much as men at this point.
Last year you went to North Allegheny. And trying to block out the final score, and you gave a tremendous effort against a Thomas Jefferson team with all that tradition and Coach Bill Shirtback. Mm-hmm. Played at Heinz Field. Compare that to North Allegheny. Is the experience of going to Heinz Field that great, much greater than a smaller high school field, or doesn't it make that much difference?
It is the little integral things that you have to deal with, or you're not allowed to do, as far as at Heinz versus being like at North Allegheny. We don't have much time to warm up in between games. It's on the schedule, a tight schedule. How you travel, how you get in and out of the stadium. So you have to mentally prepare the kids for that. I mean, it's a process that you're not used to. You're used to doing it a certain way all throughout the whole year for 12, 13 games. Then all of a sudden, you have to do something different, So that's a little different that we have to mentally prepare the kids for.
Plus you're on grass too. If it rains all day Thanksgiving like it's supposed to, it could be crazy by your game. But Bob, we're down to our final minute. While I had Mike, I wanted to just, if he could spill the beans. If you win the toss at Heinz Field, now what? Or are you not allowed to say?
I'm not going to say.
All right, and you won't say if it goes to overtime what you're going to do.
I'm not going to say.
Okay,
that's fine.
Off the record.
Right.
Okay, what's the one food tomorrow that you have to have on your Thanksgiving Day table?
Fried turkey.
Fried turkey. For Sean?
Seafood salad.
Seafood salad.
Yeah.
On Thanksgiving?
Yeah. I mean, I had turkey and everything, but my mom coming in from out of town, and she makes the best seafood salad.
Oh,
I
wow.
like it. That sounds good.
If any leftovers, can I
bring you some.
We want to wish you and your families and the team a very happy Thanksgiving, and we're looking forward to the opportunity. It's great even for us just to get to announce your games.
Appreciate it.
I can only imagine what it's like to coach or play in a game like this on the field owned by the Pitt Panthers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Guys, best of luck.
And I want to thank you guys. I mean, that's why when you guys call, I try to make it a point to show up because what you guys do, it's not for me and Coach Pat. I mean, just the recognition and the things you do for the kids throughout the whole county, whoever you oversee. I appreciate that. That's why I try to make sure we don't take that for granted.
And you know what? Hopefully we'll see a few more games from the Clips and the other teams involved from the area in the championships. It's going to be a crowded field for us on Friday, Beaver Falls 4:30 airtime. On Saturday, Central Valley 11:30, followed by Aliquippa and Bell Vernon. That might be the marquee game. That might be the media frenzy. Aliquippa, Bell Vernon should be a great one. No matter what the outcome, we're proud of what you guys have done. Happy holiday.
Appreciate it.
Yes, thanks. Sonny, if you're watching, keep the faith, brother. Oh, I'm serious. Yeah, he's attractive.
That'll do it.
Of football.
That'll do it for us. For Curtis Walsh, Malik Garrett, For Bruce Fry, coaches Mike Warfield and Vashawn Patrick, I'm Boyd Barrickman. Happy holiday, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. And let's wish our very best to the teams that are going to be playing at Heinz Field this weekend. Good night from Beaver County Radio and Facebook Live.